Hello everyone, I am Archana Rani. In this assignment, I am going to discuss write a program to perform the operation on complex number using constructor in Python. Learning objective for this assignment that students should learn how to implement the constructor concept in Python. And once the student is finish this assignment, the student will able to implement the object oriented concept called constructor in Python programming. The problem definition, as I said, is that you have to write a program to demonstrate the use of the constructor. For that, I have taken the problem statement as to perform the operations on the complex number. Prerequisite for this program is you should know how to read the input from the user and output to display on the screen different data types, operations, and the object-oriented concept constructors. Problem solutions for this program is, as I said it, that for this assignment I have considered the complex number. So how to implement the constructor in Python? For that, first you should know what is constructor. So constructor is generally used for instantiating an object. The task for the constructor is to initialize, that is assign the value to the data member of the class when the object of class is created. And in Python, for implementing this concept, we use it the method called as the standard method. Init method is called for the constructor and is always called when the object is created. The syntax for this method is, with the help of def keyword, you can initialize that method as a self, and whatever body you want to write it as a constructor, you can write it. So whenever the user is implemented the object oriented programming in Python, we mostly come across the init method, and this method is used as a constructor method, is one of the reserved method in a Python programming, and this method is known as constructor here. This method can be called as the object is created from the class and access is created to initialize the attribute of the class. As I said it, that this method is used as an initialization and it is automatically invoked when the object is created in Python, and that is the functionality of the constructor. Types of constructor, again we get it the default constructor and the parametric constructor. For default constructor, a simple constructor which does not accept any argument. Its definition has only one argument, which is the reference to the instance is being constructed, and the best example for default constructor is init method. Whereas parametric constructor, when you want to pass the parameters or the constructor with the parameter, is known as the parametric constructor. The parametric constructor is take it the first argument as a reference to the instance being constructed and is always known as a self, and the rest of the argument is provided by the programmer, where that programmer want to take the reference for that arguments. As I said it, for implementing the constructor concept, I am going to implement the operations, perform the operations on the complex number. So you should know what is complex number. So complex number are the number that are expressed that in a specific format, that is a plus bi format, where I is an imaginary number and a and b are the real number. For example, it's given on the screen, that is 6 plus 4i. So 6 and 4 are the real number, whereas 6 is the real number, whereas 4i is the imaginary part of that number. Likewise, we can take it the number from the user, which the number is represented in a real and imaginary part. That number is called as the complex number, and by using that number format, we can perform the different operations on the complex number like addition, subtraction, multiplication. So how to perform this addition, subtraction, multiplication? Let's we see it. For problem solution, first you have to define the complex class, then declare the constructor and give it the default value in that constructor, then define the different method to perform the operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then finally print the result on the screen and then exit it. This is a program for the complex number. I am going to demonstrate this program, and when we run this program, you will get it the output. after compile and run this program. For example, the first complex number, if put it real part 4 and imaginary part 6, then that number become 4 plus 6i, whereas the second number is take it real part 3 and second is 8, then the number will become 3 plus 8i. Then we perform the operation as addition, subtraction, multiplication, get it the answer 7 plus 14i, 1 plus minus 2i, and the multiplication is minus 36 plus 60i. And the conclusion is, as per the data read from the user, implemented the object-oriented concept constructor, and the appropriate result is displayed on the screen. Let's run the program. So this program I have already copied in a Python editor, and if I debug this program and run this program, then you can see the output on the screen. Let's we start to debug. The first part, as I said it, that real part I have considered here 4, 6, then 3 and 8. Then you can see the different result as is addition, subtraction, multiplication. Yes, I will show you the program, that is as per the problem solution given in the presentation. We have declared one class called as the complex. In this class I have declared the default constructor, that is the init method, as you can see in the screen, and while defining that method is showing it the real and imaginary part of that program, and with the help of the self keyword you can initialize the that parameters value to that method. Then I have taken here different methods called as the subtraction, init complex, then display method, sum method, multiplication methods. Then I have created the 3 object, that is C1, C2, C3 object. Then I have taken the first complex number for read it the first complex number. For reading the first complex number, I have declared the method called C1, that init complex, and this init method is simply enter the real part of the number, that is reading the data from the user. You can see it that enter the real part and enter the imaginary part, we can read it from the user. Yes, then we display that number. Then again we have read it the second complex number, and that value we stored into the second object, that is C2 object. Likewise C1 and C2 object is stored the real and imaginary part number in a C1 and C2 object. Yes, and display on the screen for our purpose. Then we perform the addition as a addition, that is called the sum function, by passing the C1 and C2 parameter into that class. And if you go to the sum functions, it take it here 2 parameter. It is a parametric constructor here. It's showing the example for parametric constructor, and here passing the object as a parameter C1 and C2, and then we perform the addition for the real part and imaginary part. Likewise, and it display that C3 message. Similarly, subtractions we have passed it, and multiplications. For multiplication, it's having the specific formula for it, that real part, the C1 real part into the C2 real part minus C1 imaginary part into the C2 imaginary part will take it the real part of that first number, whereas the imaginary part, how we can calculate it, that C1 real part into C2 real part plus C1 imaginary part into C2 imaginary part. Likewise, you can perform the multiplication operations and you will get it answer here, as I already shown you after running the program. Hope you understood the program, students. This is all about the 10th assignments of the object-oriented concept to implement the constructors in Python programming laboratory. Thank you.